Today I want to talk about a very good area, and today I want us to look at uh, Raila Odinga's presidency and the reasons as to why his supporters and his sympathizers were not able to go to the streets after President William Samoei Arap Ruto was declared as the validly elected president by the electoral body in the last election, the election of the 9th of August 2022. But again, before I go directly into that, I want to remind uh, my viewers and whoever listening to this is that this is not the first time Raila Odinga was running for presidency. This was actually the fifth time. And we can't say that all the five times Raila went or positioned himself as a candidate uh, in our elections that there was a clear pathway for his winning. Um, I can really narrow it down to around four that Raila was almost winning or winning, but I'll deliberately avoid the 1997 election, whether it was fair or unfair or whatever the case would have been. But that let us not go into it because one, Raila was never number one, purported to be number one or number two, and nobody actually contested that election. Of course, they may have contested in other forums, but nobody contested. Of course, with the reasons that are also known that the courts were more or less biased and the state courts. Therefore, there was no need of any person trying to address his grievances in those corridors of courts. But that is aside. In 2007, we all know what happened. Raila went for an election. It was clear to his supporters and sympathizers that definitely Raila won that election. The history is in our books and in our records. We know exactly what happened. Uh, of course, Raila ended up being a prime minister. In 2013, again, Raila ran for election in this country. He contested challenged his defeat in court, and the court held that former president we Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta won fairly, and of course there were jitters from Raila Odinga supporters, and we all know what happened with the court brigade. But that was the case. Of course, that time round, his supporters went again to the streets to challenge that kind of look at things. In 2017, same thing. One denied, went to court. Supporters were jittering. In fact, some may compare the jitteries in 2017 to that of 207, only that it was not as massive as 207 in terms of killings and the rest of the things. But of course, in terms of destructions and a lot of things, guys were seriously unhappy with the decision. And we know some died, memorable personnels or persons that people talk of Baby Pendo and the rest. And you all know that this same election led to a number of people being forced out of this country. The general himself, General Miguna, who was sedated. Some say alidungwa shindano ya ndovu and he found himself in Canada. That aside, now why was this election, the 2022 9th of August election, so special that Raila supporters did not in any way think, plan, or even anticipated to go to the streets? It's because of some few reasons. Raila assured his supporters that this time round, number one, he was giving his last shot. He was going to use his last bullet, and therefore, when you're using your last bullet, you must be precise and accurate. Second is that he was now with the system, reporting to his supporters all his victories were taken by the system and the deep state. And now that he was able to have both the deep state and the system with him, then there were no possibilities of his victory again being squandered away. And number three, being supported by a sitting president, now former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, that in itself gave his supporters an assurance. And nobody would doubt that Uhuru Kenyatta was really supporting Raila Amolo Odinga. We still remember the phrases of my elder and my younger brother said to be so and so. The president and the former prime minister went somewhere, and again for him also to, for the government also to second him to be the AU, let me call it Minister for Infrastructure. That was in itself an indication of goodwill from the president and the government then, and possibly the system and the deep state, as was mentioned. His brother, elder brother, of course, Oburu Dinga, while meeting voters in Siaya, to be specific, in Bondo, he assured the electorates there and the supporters of our former prime minister that everything was now in place. We have both the system and the deep state, if to quote him. So everybody was very comfortable that this was Raila's time. It was either he gets it or lose it, and everybody was prepared for that. That this was his time. Be that may, we all know what happened. Again, Chebukati declared someone else apart from Raila Amolo Odinga, and uh, for the first time, it took Raila some time to even speak to his electorate and his voters. There was nothing that he could really say. How will you tell that uh, innocent voter in Homa Bay, that innocent voter in Mombasa, that innocent voter in Makueni and in Kitui, that again, with all the system, the deep state, the president, Matiangi for interior, Joe Musheru for ICT, and even Keriako Tobiko for environment, if environment was also to be protected, to be conducive for you to win, then you want to tell us again it, it was again stolen. So it was difficult. It was difficult. Trailer actually I could see that trailer really lacked um, the guts to address or speak about this matter because this was his according to how he paraded himself throughout the electioneering period. So for you to expect his supporters to go to the streets, I think to them the thing is that nobody really messed Raila up. Raila messed himself up. He had everything that he needed to win this election. He even had the police. He had everybody else to win this election. But again, if he can lose it again when he has everything, then there was no possibility of even anybody going to the streets and to think otherwise that Raila will definitely win any other election. This was his. So going to the streets would not be an option because if you had everything, then even us going to the streets will not make him be president. Those were some sentiments from his supporters. Now, looking at it again, uh, there was more or less a wave. It was also Ruto's time, according to the outcome of the election. It was Ruto's time. Ruto played two key things. Number one, he allowed Raila to be the deputy president, and he, President William Ruto, be the opposition leader in government. Of course, the deputy president in Raila Odinga not earning salary as a deputy president, but the opposition leader in William Ruto earning salary as a deputy president and occupying state uh, facilities. Ironical. But now, Raila Ruto went ahead and took advantage of this. He said, okay, fine. I am the legitimate child of Jubilee. Raila has been adopted and has been given my role. Now, the orphan in Raila Odinga coming to our family now becomes the biological son of Jubilee government, and the biological son in William Ruto becomes now the orphan and the adopted child. And the adopted child, the, the, the biological adopted child in William Ruto decides to run out of the house. And apart from running out of the house, he says, okay, fine, I'll not be part of this family, but I'll still have your surname as the deputy president so that I'm able to enjoy at least some few benefits and and privileges of being a child. And in that, he ran away, talked of the message that his father, now the former president William Ruto, and now the adopted child, all the crimes that they were committing. So every problem that was now happening in the house, William Ruto deliberately now decided to leave it to Raila Odinga. So it was Raila and Uhuru's problem. And that went well with him because, of course, a lot of things were happening. The cost of living was uh, really terrible, fuel prices, the economy was poor, everything else. Then uh, the president decided to play a very bad game by punishing those who are friends to his biological son in William Ruto. And this worked well. That William Ruto is now an orphan of a living parent. And therefore, all these things were happening to him. He could really definitely post it that one, it is Raila Odinga was contributed to this and is meant to really destroy me and my team. But Raila Odinga would have won this election if only he were to listen and do exactly what he went to. Everybody else, including me in particular, I really support the idea behind handshake. But Raila made a mistake by staying. That is the biggest mistake he did. What he ought to have done, have a handshake with the president. Say, okay, bro, let's work together. Let me give you a hand so that you can work peacefully with no distractions or no interferences from my quarters. Then leave it there. The idea of sticking in that house messed you up. You carried the bag. Raila carried the baggage. The Jubilee government messed up, but Raila carried the baggage of things that he didn't know. He stayed there. He should have just left it, allowed Ruto to run, continue sleeping in that dirty house. Then you run outside and cry, tell people exactly that house. Okay, they were saying I was making the country ungovernable. Fine, we made peace with him. We had a handshake. Now, what's happening? Can he really now tell us exactly what is happening? But you stayed there. You are staying there, messed Raila. Raila Odinga stayed there, messed him up, and messed him politically. Otherwise, that is why even his supporters were now tired. And they say, okay, fine, Ruto is the president, and they will embrace him. And that was witnessed when he went to Homa Bay. There was nothing like even an iota of violence. William Samoei Ruto received a heroic welcome, and he was able to articulate himself, regardless of the absence of both the governor and the area MP. So, in brief, that is exactly how Raila messed up his election. Thank you.